This is Dan from Vagabond Buddha. I'm in Cusco, Peru, enjoying the sights and sounds and experiencing the Inca culture and the new culture. And I was out for a run this morning, and it occurred to me, I had a couple thoughts I wanted to share about the political polarization going on right now in the U.S. and other parts of the world, and touch on how it's not really useful to mankind to have this sort of polarization. And I'll just talk about the U.S. because that's where I'm from, and that's my experience of friends and family. I'm better situated for that. So if you watch the mind work, the human mind, and particularly your own mind, what it does is it has a set of beliefs that it thinks are the correct set, and it demonizes people with other beliefs, and then it goes about forming groups that are of similar belief and associating only with those people. And by the way, I'm at 3,400 meters here in Cusco, so if I'm breathing hard, it's because I'm around just finished my run, and I'm around 13,000 feet high, something like that. So forgive me. And we form these groups. And there's really only two ways it can go, or there's many ways it could go, but I'll stick to what I'm worried about. The heat of the conversation, of the demonization, can become so strong that the sides decide to take up arms against each other and have in the U.S. case, a civil war. So it's possible that if these two sides continue to demonize each other, that it could end up in a civil war. We've had it before in the U.S. And that's obvious. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know with respect to that. But what I wanted to touch on more is how when you have such a strong position and you're forming groups and you're pointing at the other groups and you're getting approval from your group by insulting or other groups in stereotypes, the purpose of that is not to have a dialogue and find a common ground. The purpose of that is it's sort of a pre-war propaganda phase that happens. And so the human mind is particularly good at this. The human mind is able to, it's very interested in who is right and who is wrong. And so, for example, in the U.S., the right, and I've been both right and left, so I know, the right likes to say that the left all wants to quit their job and stay home and just live off welfare, and that they want to tax the wealthy to death and or tax them out of existence. They're communists, they're socialists, this sort of thing. And the left likes to say that the right has no compassion, that if you're born into a family that has no wealth, you should be able to have the opportunity for an education. There should be public schools, there should be health care, there should be a lowest or a bottom boundary of living and that we shouldn't have people living homeless in the streets, and we should have poor people's children should be able to excel. And the left says that the right is not interested in that the right believes that it should be everyone for themselves, and that if someone is poor, it's because they're poor in character. And so these are the two demonizing positions that the political spectrum in the US have, and they're just simply not true. I know, because I've been on both sides, that it's not true. But there's no political benefit. Politicians need to demonize in order to invigorate their vote and to get them out and to win more seats in the government, so they can stop the other side from implementing their demonic purpose. And this is really silly, because ultimately there's both sides believe in America. And forgive me for being nationalistic for a moment, but America is this place where people come to America without a penny in their pocket, like my grandfathers, or I should say, on my mother's side, my mother's father came from Canada without a penny in his pocket and raised a family of 8, and there's many successful people in his family. And it's because they were able to become educated. Their father was poor. He started poor and worked his way up in the world. But when they were young, he couldn't afford education. And yet, now there's all these members of the family that are high producers and contribute to society. And so this idea that my grandfather is a freeloader because he came to America is just nonsense. And the right understand that too. Both the left and the right understand that. They understand that the purpose, what America provides, is an opportunity that if you are one of imagination and energy and willpower, that you can make it in America. And that's what makes us all, that's the place that we all agree, and where we find this common ground as Americans. And we also believe in fairness. Like, we went over and we kicked the Germans' ass along with the Russians, and we pushed them back into their country, and we put military around them to control them. Not because we didn't make any money. It cost us a lot of money. We lost thousands of citizens, but we did it because it was the right thing to do. We were a light. We are a light for society, and so if you look back at our history, we believe in giving. We're a society that believes in giving, and we give to the poor with education, and this is our common ground. And we look around the world and we look for unfairness, and we look for sexism and homophobia and people being treated based on their skin color. We're a society of fairness, and that's what we have in common. And so this idea that we can demonize the other side is going to lead to civil war, and there's no purpose for it, because we actually have the same values. And if we let our political leaders or our media or anyone tell us that we hate each other, and we buy that story, there's going to be a lot of blood spilled for no reason. And more importantly, the whole point of me speaking today is to talk about how do you convince someone of your point of view. And it doesn't start with demonization. It doesn't start with forming groups and pointing at the other groups and calling them names. It starts with dialogue, and a dialogue that's willing to learn something. It starts with a listening, because I can tell you, the right normally politically are kind of like accountants. What they're trying to do is get the most value out of the taxes. They're not trying to say no tax. And the majority of the right, despite what you might believe, are good people. I know a lot of people on the right, and they're good people. A lot of them right now are, just like the left, are falling for the demonization conversation going on in America. And so when they're in those groups, and when the media they listen to, and the talk radio and whatnot, when they're in those groups, they're silent, if you will, about the demonization. And they're not tuning into the other opinion about things. So the silence, would have you believe that that they have ill intent. But I don't think that's true of the American people. I think that there's just really maybe 5% on each side that's doing most of the demonization, and the 80 or 90% in the middle are listening. But if either side, but the reason that America keeps switching between parties in the votes is because they're a little bit fearful of the 5% on the left and the 5% on the right, and they think that if they kind of swing a pendulum, that we won't go off the deep end in either direction. And so when you're worried about your side losing government to the other side, if you're in the middle, you probably don't need to worry about that. And when you're having conversations, it really should start without a position. So, because the human mind I'm part of this club. I have to, I'm for the New York Giants. I have to make fun of Dallas or San Francisco. That's kind of fun in sports and stuff, but in politics, it really means blood. It results in blood historically. I don't think it's useful to start with your position and try to pound someone else over the head for it. That's fine for the 5% on the left and the 5% on the right, but I think that the human condition is such that you will never win an argument if you start with your position. We're all common people, and Americans in particular, we have the same generalized values, but we have an extreme view on either side that we're letting dictate the dialogue. And so my suggestion is just not to be a part of that. Don't be a part of this demonization, whether you're on the left or the right, because these are Americans that we're talking about. These are people. These are the grandchildren of people who put on uniforms and went over and killed other people in Europe in order to stop this idea of Nazism, for example. Both parties had these clothes on and went over there and killed people that were extreme. And so that's who we are as a people. And so I don't think it's helpful for us to listen to our extremes. I think it's helpful for us to remember and to be in the middle, to understand that that the right is the accountant. They're trying to make sure we get enough value out of our dollar, and they have some good ideas and some bad ideas. And the more extreme you get on the right, the more bad the ideas are. And the left is the same thing. They're thinking of humanity in a way. They'd like every poor child to become a millionaire, or at least have the opportunity to be, to get educated, to go to college. And they don't want to watch old people, without medical care, or they don't want to watch anyone without medical care. They just think about people, in the same way that the right, gives to charity and pulls over and picks a dog up off the road and takes it to a veterinarian. The left is this, that's who they are. I mean, so you are the same people. And so I'm just, my message is just to quit being a part of this conversation that's a demonization of the other side, because they're your brothers and sisters. And the middle in America, not the extreme on either side, but the middle, we are good people. We are a beautiful, loving nation. We love people of all color, all nations, and we have a big tent. People of all religions are welcome here. And so what if someone on the extreme on either side doesn't, they talk in another way? They don't have our soul. What they have is a microphone. And I'm just asking that you not join either side and stay in the middle. And let's keep this extremism on either side, this extreme view that this 5% on either side are trying to sell us, because it's not going anywhere useful. And when we come from a place of conclusion that we have the right answer, we can't convince anyone else. That no one is going to listen to you until they know you care about them. And so that's why we have two worlds right now in America, because people are joining one side or the other. They're ready to lace up their boots and start shooting each other. And I'm just asking you not to join that party, because don't join the extremism. Don't let the extremism on either side make you an extremist. And so that's my message here. And in terms of the human mind, we love to be on teams, right? So we're drawn to this. It's a childlike behavior. But the truth is, we don't get to, our team doesn't get to win the Super Bowl every year. There's other teams out there, and they're all Americans. And so, and yeah, they're going to say stupid things, outrageously stupid things, but let's not demonize the middle. Let's not call, whatever it is right now, 50-50 or 60-40, one people. It's just not true that the majority of that other side that you're not on are satanic. Let's not go there, because that's what our politicians would like to do. But we as people need to understand that, A, there are good politicians out there that are not demonizing. And we need to recognize that more adult behavior and honor it on both sides. And we need to criticize our own side when the demonism starts on our own side. We need to tap our sphere of influence on the shoulder and say, hey, these are Americans over here. They suited up and they stopped Nazism. They stopped assassination of a people. They stopped fascism. And we suited up on other times, and we can argue about which wars are justified or not, but we have an ideal as a people, and that ideal is very similar. And just because the right are accountants historically, and the left is a humanistic historically, both sides have both of these aspects within them. And to demonize Americans based on, because we have a dirty 5% on either side, and to join that party, I'm just saying, maybe shame on us. Shame on us. We need to be bigger than that. Let the children, play at their level, but that's not who we are. That's not who we are as people. Let's step up to the plate. Let's hit that ball over the fence. Let's not fall for this bullshit. We're not sheep. We're not sheep. Are you a sheep? You're not a sheep. So don't fall for that. If your neighbor across the street cares about, you know, making sure that everyone has a fair shot in America, just because their name is Democrat, remember, you have the same belief. You know, just because their party is Democrat, you have that same belief. And the paperwork is all we're talking about here, how it's defined. And, you know, let the extremists be extreme and characterized, but let's not fall for it, personally. Let's not personalize this war. Let's, you know, and make sure to listen. Make sure to listen. You have to listen to what the other side's saying. Don't start a conversation from your position. Start a conversation by listening and see if you can learn something about what they're worried about. And don't, the purpose of a conversation, you will never, ever convince someone by cramming your ideas down their throat while they wave their hand in front of your face. It's pointless. And don't assume they're a demon. It's nonsense. Don't fall for that. And so anyway, so I just, you know, in summary, we're all Americans. We have the same values. The demons on the left and right are going to tell us we're different people and we need to go to war. But that's just not true. And don't fall for it. We don't want blood in our streets. That's not who we are. And we're not haters. We're not haters. And so that whole thing is pointless. And we can't start with our position. A statesman is someone who learns about what the person they're speaking to's problems are and really understands what is it they're dealing with. And they try to find common ground. They don't come into a conversation with insults and a position. That never has been useful in any way in any conversation except to start a war. And my vote is not to have a war. My vote is for us to go back to a civil, soft discussion. You know what? Some of these people in the media, yeah, they need to sell shampoo. They need to sell cars. And so they're saying extremist things, getting you excited. Why? So you'll turn their show on at 8 o'clock or 9 or whatever to see, you know, that your position is justified. Yeah, those guys over there are demons. That's what that is. And then, yeah, so you go buy the shampoo. But that's not who you are. That's not who we are. So I say, you know what? Tune that out. Tune that out and look for common ground and start by listening. And remember, the other side's 5%, yeah, they may be speaking as demons, and they may in fact be a demon, but that's their 5%. Their 95% are they're more like you. They really believe that kids should not starve to death and that you cannot tax opportunity out of existence and, you know, or no one's going to do it. I mean, we all have those same beliefs, and to believe that the other side believes something else is just, you're really kind of need to step up your game and don't fall for it anymore. It's just nonsense. And so anyway, that's my thought for today. Thanks for listening. Dan here from Vagabond Buddha.